Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Duke and Dutch Show. Duke is over there, I am Dutch, and we have a great show for you today. There's a lot to get into, and we're going to start in a second. Let's rattle through the topics. Firstly, the Supreme Court has dealt Trump a major win, saying that the lower judiciary courts can no longer interfere with presidential actions, which, of course, has raised a lot of concerns and actually has led to a lot of infighting from Republican Justice Amy Coney Barrett and Liberal Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, calling Miss Ketanji Brown Jackson's qualifications into question. After that, we have the great Alligator Alcatraz. It's going to be great. We're going to use the Everglades. We're going to make Florida great. What this is going to be is it's going to be an illegal immigration complex. It's going to be able to help about 5,000 people, and they're going to put it smack dab in the middle of the Everglades because we got to give the alligator jobs. I'm a man of the people. I'm a man of the animals. Trump 2028. Employ the alligators. We'll let them vote. Oh, they are naturalized, so I guess you could. After that, we got a pretty tragic story coming out of Idaho, where it appears from all the news reports that are so far, and this is still a developing story, but it appears that somebody intentionally set a fire in order to ambush firefighters. And so far, from the reporting we have so far, 9 firefighters have been injured and 2 have actually been killed. And lastly, but not leastly, actually maybe leastly, it could be actually, because Kamala Harris and her want to run in the 2028 seat for the California governorship when Gavin Newsom steps down. I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's too much enthusiasm behind her. Whether that has to do with her cover-up of Biden's cognitive decline or her, pretty historic loss during the 2024 presidential election, who knows? But people are not super excited for her. But we're going to get into all of that in just a second. And I'm going to stop rambling now. Duke, how are you doing today?
I'll be honest, I'm not feeling the best. I got a little migraine again. What else is new? But it's a good day above ground, so let's keep it going.
All right.
How about yourself? How you doing over there? Did you get your AC in yet?
No, I didn't put an AC in yet. It's only 80 degrees in my house. It's fine. It's it's actually cooling down. It will be it'll be fine. We're in Pennsylvania. It's not that hot. I don't want to be like those Europeans who are bitching, like, it's 34 Celsius over here. It's like, that's like 78 degrees, man. It's not that hot. Like, but in Europe, I guess in Britain, that's super hot because they complain every time it gets 80 degrees. I am not British, though, so I will not do that. I don't know why. Oh, yeah. Socrates watching Diogenes piss himself. I'm not going to go off on Socrates and Diogenes, but I like Diogenes. Actually, a lot more than Socrates. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get into what this exactly means. I think it was last Friday. Takeaways from the Supreme Court's ruling on power of judges and birthright citizenship. Now, 2 things were established here. One was that, birthright citizenship has been kind of ruled out. They say it's no longer going to be, quantified, accepted, valued, anything like that. Which is part of the win, I guess. But I think the major thing is that, they delivered that it's in a 6-3 vote. The federal judiciary no longer can interfere with what Trump wants to do. And I agree with that wholeheartedly because, hey, no kings, right? But yet it seems like a circuit court judge can just overturn anything. And I don't know, that seems like a kingly thing to me.
And it seems like every single time he tries to even introduce anything, there's always a lower circuit court imposing on it.
There's always a lower circuit court imposing on something. So
he has to go to the Supreme Court, and it's always makes it 10 times longer.
Well, that's what Trump has said. He came out. I think we covered this a couple of weeks ago. He said, I don't know how you could call me a king, because obviously everything I do, obviously gets opposed, and I got to go through all these hoops and go through the courts and whatnot. But I would say that maybe these judges think they're the kings, because you think you can block the sitting president and the entire executive branch. I think that's pretty wild. I think that's a lot of power. Why would anybody want to be the president? They could just be a judge. If you can just do whatever the hell you want.
It's crazy to see so much pushback, especially from, against the executive branch. It's not supposed to be designed that way, but yet there's crazy amount of pushback, especially during this presidency.
And as we know, the Supreme Court is slighted 6-3 right now. So the Supreme Court 6-3 ruling could have far-reaching consequences for Trump's second term, even if his birthright citizenship order is never enforced. That's because it will limit the power of courts to strike down other policies in the future. Presidents of both parties have complained about nationwide injunctions for years, and Trump has noted correctly that there have been far more issued against him than the presidents in the past. And we're going to get into this later, too. Presidents of both parties have complained about nationwide injunctions. That is true. Lower courts.
This is not a new thing.
Lower courts, for instance, have used the orders to temporarily block his efforts to deport migrants under the Alien Enemies Act and prohibit transgender service members in the military. This was a big decision, Trump said from the White House shortly after the ruling was issued. The president described the outcome as an amazing decision, one that we're very happy about, but exactly how future litigation shakes out remains to be seen. Private parties in the birthright citizenship case, a group of pregnant women who sued, may still be able to get a court to shut down a policy temporarily through a class action lawsuit. And states may still be able to secure a hold on an administration's policies in the short term as well. Sorry, excuse me. But that's not what we're really going to get into here. I mean, obviously this exposed, and there's a 6-3 vote. Obviously, the liberal judges are on one side, the conservative judges are on another side, and we're going to get into the hypocrisy of one of those judges in a little bit. However, what really is shaken out of this decision is Amy Coney Barrett has come out in full force against Ketanji Brown Jackson. And what everyone is saying is racist and not misogynistic, because she's also a woman, but racist for sure. Now, Ketanji Brown Jackson famously was put onto the Supreme Court during Biden's administration. I think she is the newest justice appointed. And there's obviously questions going around about her qualifications. So we're going to hear from CNN here, and they're going to talk about that. Charlie Kirk correctly saying Ketanji Brown Jackson is a diversity hire. Those are his words, not mine. See what CNN has to say about this.
It's caused some people, like Charlie Kirk, to say Ketanji Brown Jackson is a diversity hire. She's only there because she's a black woman.
Ooh.
Of course he said that. Like, it's Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Like, big. That's not breaking news. Ketanji Brown Jackson is more than qualified to be on the bench. And I would argue, I don't like all the justices and their judicial rulings, and they all have very qualified judicial records. So the fact that she is a black woman, the first black woman, there have been many, many before her, and there will be many, many after. Will they all get the chance to be on the bench? No. But this is what they do. Like, they should have just taken the win, but they cannot get out of using race and gender to try and bait people against each other. I'll just also say, the birthright citizenship question is still one that is very much on the table. A lot of people, after this court ruling came down, are scared, but that wasn't actually decided today, and that will come in the fall. And I still think that the Supreme Court will not rule that birthright citizenship should be overturned.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah. I think that's important to mention to people, because I think people...
What do you think about birthright citizenship, Duke? What do you think about that, just before we get into what this lady said and why she is incorrect?
I understand the idea of it. Obviously, it's turned more into a way of somebody being here illegally, turning the situation into them being allowed to stay here because of a child that they have here.
Yeah, well, as I understand it, it's that
create problems.
Two people who are illegally here can come across the border. They can be carrying a child of 8 months that's born here. It's now a citizen. Now the whole family gets to stay. Yeah, so I don't really think that that's. To me, yeah, it sounds to me like,
especially when it comes to immigration laws, it's contradicting to our own immigration laws. We shouldn't allow that type of situation to be.
Yeah, it sounds like a loophole in the system.
Yeah, it's basic. Yeah, exactly. It's a loophole is basically a perfect. Sorry, my words. I have a migraine today, so my speech might not be the best. But
you're fine.
Loophole is the perfect definition for what it classifies as in terms of immigration at this point. I believe Donald Trump stated himself that this law was put in place for other means, for other reasons, not specifically to have a quote unquote anchor baby for two illegal immigrants.
Ah, yes, that is the term, anchor baby.
Yes.
There was a guy on TikTok a while ago. He was flashing all his cash saying he's got an anchor baby. He never had to work. He was deported, luckily. But I mean, for a while, he was right. For I don't know, maybe a year or two, maybe longer than that.
Took advantage of quite a bit of that.
Didn't have to do anything, and it's like you're gloating about taking advantage of the system. So I want to get into I don't know that young lady's name, or young woman's name, older woman's name, whatever. Charlie Kirk, though, referred to Ketanji Brown Jackson as a diversity hire. Now, I would call that racist if there was no precedence for it. However, unfortunately, there is precedence for it, and Joe Biden, our former 46, is the one who set the precedent for it. And this guy, let me call him out here, James Fishback, he's going to explain why. Is he the guy from Survivor?
I don't know.
No, there was another Fishback, but oh, that's gonna bother.
Let's hear what he has to say.
It's gonna bother me now. Now I just noticed that. I was like, oh, he could be the guy for.
That'd be kind of random.
It would be, but okay. I'll look that up later.
Joe Biden is the one who came out and said,
I'm looking forward to making sure there's a black woman on the Supreme Court.
"We're going to."
It speaks for itself.
When you go out and you and listen, this is the same thing he did with Kamala Harris because he wants the virtue signal, he wants to get the woke points, he wants to be inclusive, yada yada yada. He knows it'll get him more votes. But all you have to do is just go do it anyway and don't tell anybody, and people will figure that out.
He clearly advertised why he was hiring her.
But do you think the news media is so stupid that they wouldn't run with that anyway? They would. But if you say it out loud, then then you are doing it for DEI purposes.
And then you give legs to the argument, yeah.
No, you make the whole argument. You can draw the conclusion right there from your words. I'm only going to pick a black woman. And you could have done that, but you just should have shut up.
Hire a black woman for the Supreme Court no matter what, reducing the possibility of hiring someone from 100% of the racial, gender, ethnic composition of the United States. It could have been anybody in that group.
Could have.
And then narrowing it down to just 4% of people, which is the number of black women who are law school graduates. That is not fair. That's not fair to Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's not fair to her husband, to her daughter, knowing that she was hired not because of her skill or merit, which conservatives, we can take issue with.
Yep.
But
it was a different. No, sorry, it was Stephen Fishback. Sorry, I don't mean to be. I don't mean to be anti-Semitic. I'm not saying all Jews look alike. I just noticed the last name. Don't roast me, please. I'm sorry.
Just an unequivocal fact that she was not hired on those things. She was hired because she checked a racial and gender box at the front door. Everyone else was excluded. She did not compete with 100% of the population. She competed with just 4% at most of the population.
Yep.
Every American deserves dignity in their employment.
That means 96% of the possible candidates didn't even get a chance. Welcome to DEI.
Yeah, and that's why I say Biden was stupid. Yeah. You could have had this agenda. You could have done it. You just didn't. Just don't tell anybody about it.
You automatically excluded 96% of potential candidates.
Well,
I'm sure she might have been good, a top candidate, but to say that she's better than the other 96% that was not even considered.
Well, to exclude them is DEI. Exactly.
Yeah. I argue that she was not the most qualified candidate. It's hard to tell now because it wasn't a fair decision.
No, I know, but it's
fair
like
comparison. I highly doubt she was the best candidate out of all.
What I don't understand is that Biden doesn't think that CNN or MSDNC they have hundreds, thousands of people working for them. They have fact checkers. You don't think they'd fact check and be like, hey, this is the first black woman who's ever been on the Supreme Court. Somebody would figure that out on their own. It's like, geez, man. But when you come out and say it. Now, even if Ketanji, let's say for the sake of argument, which I don't believe this is true, but let's say it is. Let's say Ketanji Brown Jackson is the most qualified person out of everyone. She was out of everybody. It will always now be called into question because Biden opened his mouth and said, I'm only going to pick a black woman.
There will always be an asterisk next to her selection. Yep.
Which I would say in a lot of ways, I mean, if you want to be really fair about it, it's also unfair to her. It really is. Yeah. Now, she'll get slandered by, conservatives for this forever. That's not fair.
She will always be considered, no matter if they hate the language or not, no matter if she hates the language, anyone can hate the language. The facts are the facts. She was a DEI pick. She was announced as a DEI pick by the president.
Yeah.
She wasn't speculated as a DEI pick. She was announced by the president as a DEI pick.
Yep. That's really unfair to, well, to all the candidates, but it's still even unfair to her. It really is.
They deserve the dignity of knowing that they were hired on their God-given skills and talents, and not because they met an arbitrary diversity.
If you're going to go for the Supreme Court, I would imagine that you'd want to be picked because you're the best. Like, yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't. Yeah, no matter what my job is, I don't want to be picked because of my color or my skin.
I don't think
that's just me. I mean, I guess
I don't think that's going to happen for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really get that. Yeah, I don't
Diversity
check that off.
checkbox, and the dignity of also knowing that they were not excluded from gainful employment because of something they couldn't control, like the color of their skin.
Well,
the truth of the matter is that DEI hiring targets the likes that President Biden.
Just really, but Biden is the king of DEI hires. I mean, look at Karine. There were rumors about Karine Jean-Pierre, our former press secretary, how she was the worst press secretary in history, how the Biden administration, they wanted to kick her out because they knew she was doing a bad job, but she had all the wokeness points. She's a woman. She's black. She's gay. She's an immigrant. You can't get rid of her. She has too many points. There's no way you can do it. Like, she has everything.
To this day, she's probably created so many memes. She's probably created so many clips based off of horrible performances on that podium.
You can, say what you want about Karine Jean-Pierre, but she was entertaining. And you know what? Even the
View created content.
She did create a lot of content.
Used to appoint Ketanji
Caroline Leavitt could never.
Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. They serve no one well. Least of all, the people like Ketanji Brown Jackson, who I vehemently disagree with. She knows that deep down, she has to keep in mind, live with the fact that she was hired, not because of the talents or skills that she brings. Objectively, I don't think she brings any. But she was hired because of the color of her skin.
Man, that
terrible. Sends the wrong message
it's terrible to live
to
with.
young black women who want to join the field of law. It sends the wrong message as well to white Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, who know that in that racial criteria, they don't stand a chance. Let's get back to merit in America. It's what President Trump rallied on. It's what his inauguration speech was about, was bringing the merit system back. It is the best system known to man for selecting talent. And it's about time we re-employ it and stop apologizing.
When you come through it and look through it logically, nobody wins.
No.
Nobody wins in that scenario.
No, nobody wins
when you make a DEI pick, especially when you the world's a DEI pick. Nobody wins in that scenario.
I mean, I guess she won, but I mean, at the same time, there's always going to be an asterisk next to her name.
As long as you have a blindfold on and
people can
you don't
always
you don't mind the fact that you were picked because of your color, then I guess you could count that as a win. But me personally, if I was a black individual and the president of the United States told the entire world that I was picked for my job because of the color of my skin, I don't know how that would taste in my mouth. Like I don't know how I would feel about that. That would really be like a hit to my, am I good enough? I would constantly tell myself, or at least think, it's like, shit, am I good enough? Am I qualified for this position?
It doesn't have to be a weird thing to come to terms with, really. But
some people, I guess, are okay with it and don't worry about that, but I would. It would bother me.
But so this leads into this, and this is from Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who obviously is a Republican justice, right-leaning, stuff like that. And she says, "We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. We observe only this: Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary." And people are going crazy about this because Supreme Court justices aren't normally sniping at each other, but Amy Coney Barrett is sniping right now at Ketanji Brown Jackson, which is, let's see. Justice Jackson skips over that part because analyzing the governing statute involves boring legalese, I guess, in her own saying, that Justice Jackson doesn't really want to focus on what's going on in the court system right now or the task at hand because it's boring, which I don't know. If it were me, I think most people know that law is pretty boring. I'm sure courtroom discussions, maybe you can get a little heated there, but like,
I'm fairly certain when you were taking that bar exam, you knew how boring it is.
Oh, I guarantee
all the information you had to know and hammer into your head.
And this is just something I brought up too. I just wanted to show this graph. Remarks by the Supreme Court justices, words spoken by each justice in their first 8 arguments. Ketanji Brown Jackson far exceeds everybody else for speaking. Or you got like Clarence Thomas
Almost
down here.
3 times as much. That's crazy.
Well, every woman here on the every woman is at the top 4, which is misogyny. Facts are racist, but yeah, they're calling this into question. DEI hire. I want to play this little clip from Fox News before we get into the article and we move on to Alligator Alcatraz.
These things down. Part of Ketanji Brown Jackson's argument was that it required too much boring legalese to analyze the law, and it was a mind-numbingly technical query. Let me tell you something, Jesse. I practiced law for a few years.
Yeah.
That's what being a lawyer is.
Yep.
All right?
That's
So
why
if
you
you're
get
a
paid.
judge...
Yeah, I don't know what you would think you're doing on the Supreme Court except for hearing cases, some of which I'm sure are not very exciting.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
and you're upset because there's too much legalese and there's too much mind-numbingly technical query, maybe find another job because the Supreme Court justice's law of the land.
If you can find a job that's not boring, that's great. But I mean, I think when you get down to it, after you do it for a while, most jobs are pretty damn boring. It's all repetitive nonsense.
And again, as he pointed out, any job to do with the court
this
system,
is a job
the law,
that's it's supposed to carry prestige, though. You should really care about this. But
oh yeah, I mean, and not to mention, like, you were elected out of a very tiny pool of people. Even if it is a DEI pick, like, you're still elected to the Supreme Court. That should hold some type of honor, and that's definitely a privilege that not a lot of people get.
She's
to
more
hold the position that you have, to hold the power that you have, and for you to say, well, it's boring.
She's more interested in doing Broadway shows, which
Yeah,
maybe
it's
that was her
just
true
boring.
calling. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court's
Why did you
justices serve
put
for
your
life.
Why did you put your name in the ring for that contention for this position if it's boring to you?
That's a good question.
Is enmeshed in that every single day. And frankly, I have never seen a analysis of a dissent like this. I jotted these things down.
So they're saying,
part of
and again, what he's implying too right there is she's unqualified. So Amy Coney Barrett rips Ketanji Brown Jackson over dissent in birthright citizenship case. Conservative Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett stunned veteran bench watchers Friday with a blunt takedown of liberal Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's extreme dissent in the landmark birthright citizenship case in which the Supreme Court curtailed lower court use of universal injunctions. Quote, "We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself," unquote, wrote Barrett, the court's second newest justice, in a jaw-dropping rebuke of her colleague, the newest justice. Quote, "We observe only this. Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary," unquote. Barrett had authorized the majority opinion in the case, the most consequential on the docket this term, which gave President Trump a major win by limiting the power of district judges to block his actions. Liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor penned the main dissent for the left flank of the High Court, which Jackson joined. Which, that we already said it was a 6-3 decision. I'm going to stop talking. It always comes up. But Jackson also wrote a concurring dissent that featured a heavy fixation on the potential practical ramification of the 6-3 decision rather than grounding her argument in legal theory. Quote, "It is not difficult to predict how this all ends. Eventually, executive power will become completely uncontainable, and our beloved constitutional republic will be no more," unquote. Jackson dramatically fretted at one point. "Quite unlike a rule of kings governing system and a rule of law regime, nearly every act of government may be challenged by an appeal to law," Jackson wrote elsewhere. "At the very least, I lament that the majority is so caught up in the minutia of the government's self-serving, finger-pointing arguments that it misses the plot." Yeah, I think you're completely wrong there. I think these people have way too much power, but that's just me. Sorry. Jackson even went so far as to dismiss the question of whether universal injunctions were provided for by the Judiciary Act of 1789 as legalese that obscures a far more basic question of enormous legal and practical significance. May a federal court in the United States of America order the executive follow the law? I don't think so. But Barrett's response in her opinion was almost mocking. Because analyzing the governing statute involves boring legalese, Jackson seeks to answer a former basic question of enormous practical significance. may a federal court in the United States of America order the executive to follow the law. In other words, it is unnecessary to consider whether Congress has constrained the judiciary. What matters is how the judiciary may constrain the executive. Justice Jackson would do well to heed her own admonition. Everyone from the president on down is bound by the law. That goes for judges too. So
yeah,
this goes as a major win for Trump. It really kind of exposes her as not having a good argument, at least in this case. And unfortunately, it's going to bring up the whole fact from, I forget when she was appointed, 2022, maybe 2023. That it does seem like, she was a DEI pick. This is the woman who went into Congress and she couldn't answer what a woman was. And now I know she obviously knows what a woman is. She can't actually speak that out loud because of, she's on the liberal side, her own party's constraints and stuff like that. So I do, I feel bad for her in that sense. But since this was a 6-3 split to limit the powers of the judiciary to affect the executive branch and therefore the president, I just wanted to go back to this clip really fast. And this has nothing to do with, it has to do with another representative here. This is Justice Kagan, who in 2022 had a completely different stance on this entire topic. And I thought this was just an interesting way to round this out.
That can't be right, that one district court, whether it's in the Trump years, people used to go to the Northern District of California. And in the Biden years, they go to Texas. And it just can't be right that one district judge can stop a nationwide policy in its tracks and leave it stopped for the years that it takes to go through normal process. That
was Justice Kagan. She voted against, I guess. She thinks now that the federal government or the federal judiciary should be limiting the powers of the president. But, in 2022, when Biden was in office, she had a completely different stance on it.
I guess it all depends who the president and who the law affects.
That's what I mean. Even if you're a Supreme Court justice, you can still be a partisan hack.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, this is not something that Trump introduced himself. This has been something that has been worried about and on the table for a long time. Multiple presidents have raised their concerns about this topic because it really throws a monkey wrench in the actual process of getting things done.
Well, what was it? 2 weeks ago, we covered the No Kings protest, and it's like, I don't know, if you think that the most powerful person in the world can be limited by a circuit court judge, then who's really the person in charge here?
Last I checked, kings don't have to appeal every single ruling because somebody else puts some red tape up for them. So that doesn't happen to kings. Yeah, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Circuit court judges apparently have more power than the president, which is astonishing. I think it'd be easier to become a judge. Not that it's easy to become a judge, but it would definitely be easier to become a judge than it would be to be the president.
And for anyone that says that this is specifically something that Trump is trying to gain more power about, I would argue, again, multiple presidents have tried to have this done. Trump is just the president that's finally getting it done.
He's got a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court, so it's a.
So at this point, it should have been done.
Yeah,
but it hasn't been done. So kudos to Trump to getting it done. It is not a Trump thing. It is a political thing that was too much red tape in our system and really hindered us more than gave us an extra check, which I guess is their argument. Like, it gives a check to the, to president power. It creates so much red tape and makes nearly a simple ABC task that we're trying to get achieved now turn into a multi-year thing. And how are we supposed to, for a president that only has 4 years in term, how is he supposed to be efficient and getting results and getting things done if he's constantly getting red tape all around everything he's trying to do by a district judge, not a Supreme Court judge, not any of the actual federal judge, like a state district judge? That's just nonsense. It's silly. It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't have happened for years.
That's the problem with democracy. It's a cut of bandits fighting over the loot. I forget who said that. From somewhere. All right, well, we're going to move on from that topic. Let us know down in the comments about the Amy Coney Barrett, Ketanji Brown Jackson feud.
Make sure you let us know.
The whole Donald Trump apparently is going to have a little more power. Hopefully that's good. And it's going to be good because we're going to go down. We're going to the Everglades, going to Florida. We're going to visit the alligators. We're going to give them all jobs for the alligators. A man of the people, a man of the animals, a man of the alligators. They're going to get cards. They can vote. They're naturalized citizens. They were born here. We all know it. They need jobs. They want jobs. They love Trump. They love him. And he might be feeding them too.
24/7 security. That's a great
24/7 security, free meals for the alligators.
Yeah.
We're going to give them stipends. They're going to get 401ks. They can retire to, well, I don't know. They're already in Florida. I don't know where they'd go. I guess they'll stay there. They live a long time, though. No retiring at 65. They can live like 150 years. No, they got to work to 80. That's what they got to do. Trump's a man of the alligators. Anyway. So, listen, I found this interesting interview. It's pretty short about an alligator. He's being interviewed about this. Haters will say this is AI. I checked this out on Google. It's not AI. This is real. Just
So tell us, how excited are you to be a part of Alligator Alcatraz?
It's an honor, really, a chance to make a difference.
So,
the alligator looks, he seems very excited. He's got his nice ICE agent jacket here.
I can actually see results happening. I can see a difference. That alligator right there will definitely get the job done.
He's just missing his MAGA hat. So this is,
and you can definitely tell it's not a DEI pick.
This is apparently, and you can see that this is the construct that they're doing. This was refurbished. It was, I forget, I don't know, a storage place or something else. It looks like there was an airplane here at some point.
Yeah.
But whatever it was, it is now going to be Alligator Alcatraz, and it's like literally, you can see it's in the middle of the Florida Everglades, which, if anybody know, maybe this is AI. This could be. I don't know if this is the exact setup or not. Now
it could be a
see, now I'm getting confused by AI now. Like the last clip I knew wasn't AI. Now I'm just like, is this AI? Is it not? But anyway, this is something to the effect of the structure.
It could be something drawn up as to their proposed setup. Yeah.
It's going to be, it's being converted into a prison that can hold up to 5,000 illegals. They're giving jobs to a lot of the alligators in the surrounding area. Now, if you don't know, there are tons of alligators in the Florida Everglades. A lot of them are unemployed. A lot of them, because there's not a whole lot around in the Everglades. But this is going to give them jobs. They're going to be doing security. They seem like they're pretty happy about it. We just spoke with that last alligator. He seems like he's pretty enthused. Seems like he's ready to. He's working for the government now. He's going to work with ICE. He seems like he's pretty happy. He seems like he's ready to take on the task, which is great. We're going to hear here from the DHS has approved Alligator Alcatraz, a new facility in Florida to detain illegals surrounded by a swamp filled with alligators. James Uthemeyer, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm probably not the Attorney General of Florida. Will tell us more. Also, I hope he's not going to mention here. I hope he's still arresting Lily Tino. But all right, let's see what he's got to say.
Meyer here at the Miami-Dade Collier training facility. This is an old, virtually abandoned airport facility right in the middle of the Everglades. Florida's been leading on immigration enforcement.
Actually, from these pictures, it could have been AI. It doesn't really look like it's that far off.
Facility right in the middle of the Everglades. Florida's been leading on immigration enforcement, supporting the Trump administration and ICE's efforts to detain and deport criminal aliens. The governor tasked state leaders to identify places for new temporary detention facilities. I think this is the best one. As I call it, Alligator Alcatraz. This 30 square mile area is completely surrounded by the Everglades. Presents a efficient, low-cost opportunity to build a temporary detention facility because you don't need to invest that much in the perimeter. People get out, there's not much waiting for them other than alligators and pythons. Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. Within just 30 to 60 days after we begin construction, it could be up and running and could house as many as 1,000 criminal aliens. This presents a great opportunity for the state of Florida to work with Miami-Dade and Collier counties. Alligator Alcatraz, we're ready to go.
That was a good trailer. I'm excited.
Attorney General James Uthemeyer.
We just heard from you, James.
It definitely seems like it is a good proposed plan for immigration and housing of illegal immigrants. Specifically, I'm assuming waiting for them to get deported or sent to the next stage of their process. Whether it
I mean, I don't really think that I don't
whatever.
think too many people escape from these detention centers, or we'd hear about it. But what I do like is the aesthetics of it. I like the aesthetics. I like the hype around it. It's a cool place to build. You know, they're just literally doing this for the aesthetics. I mean, I think, and also to employ the alligators. But
I don't think they're just doing it for the aesthetics, but I think the aesthetics are definitely a very big bonus. Plus, it really, honestly, like we do need housing for this, and specifically, I'd like to see rioters try and riot outside that facility.
They might. I don't know. You never know. But it's like, yeah, the Everglades is like, I don't know. Like I said, I was just in Florida a couple weeks ago. Man, they're everywhere. Every pond you go to, there's alligator signs. Like I didn't see any when I was down there, but like, you know, everyone's always vigilant about it, I guess. I mean, they put warning signs at every pond. There could be alligators here. There could be alligators there. Don't go in here. You know, if there's any like swamp or marshland, don't do it. We're gonna hear from Governor DeSantis here, who I think has done a fantastic job running Florida, and it seems like the people down there really like him. So let's see what he has to say about Alligator Alcatraz.
All the stuff that goes into intake and processing of illegals, you're seeing this put up. This is all 24 hours. 24 hours from now, you're going to see even more. And by Tuesday, this will be able to have intake of illegals.
And you've thought of everything. Okay, so there are 4 gigantic tents. Let's come on over here, Governor. And people are thinking, okay, you're in the middle of the Everglades. It's hot. That would explain why you've got this bank of air conditioners here.
Yeah, so I mean, this is going to be, illegals will come in, they'll be processed. There'll be places for them to be housed. You'll have an ability for food. You'll have an ability for them to consult legal rights if they have that, because there is a process that's involved with this. So this is really everything. This is going to be a
Yeah, that's important too to note. That there is a process to this. It's like everyone thinks people are just going to get grabbed off the street indiscriminately and stuff like that. It doesn't.
That's what everyone loves to claim.
It doesn't seem like that's. It doesn't seem like that's the case. And you know, we haven't actually heard of too many people going here that weren't supposed, like going to these detention centers. Not here specifically.
Everyone in the world loves to claim
go
about it right now, but there hasn't been actual factual proof. There hasn't been actual names of any individual that has been quote unquote taken off the street that was here legally. I
just think it's people in liberal. It's just people here in liberal cities, actually. You know, I don't think the world can. I mean, every country in the world has immigration laws. It's just we're the ones that are supposed to ignore.
If there was a single person with a social security number that was taken, it's funny to see that their names, for some reason, their families aren't crying out. You don't see them on the news saying, "Where's my husband? Where's this person? Where's?" The only person that
you do sometimes, but it's normally followed by yes, they are here illegally, but it's like okay, well,
and they're usually followed with evidence of them being here illegally, not actually legally. So until there's a person to attach to that claim, I'm gonna go along with what they're saying because they're showing results. They're showing actual plans, proposed solutions to our current big issue of illegal immigration.
And it's going to employ a lot of alligators.
We're creating facilities. We're creating facilities and opportunities. Like he said, there actually is a process. Like I think if they are due or if they are allowed to get, depending on their status, legal representation or legal help, they're even setting that up for them in this detention area. But guess what? You're not allowed to be out illegally on the streets anymore. And that's how it should be from the beginning. That's how it should have been, and it hasn't been for a long time. They're fixing what has needed to be fixed for a long time.
Yeah, they're fixing the whole Biden debauchery at the border, which they have mostly fixed actually. They say boarding crossings are almost down to like 0.
Oh, it's down to 0%. Yeah, that's what I heard. It was at 0%.
I don't know. I don't know if it's ever at 0, but it's close to that. They're saying.
Yeah.
But now the whole process of getting people out of here. I mean, it's a lot harder. You can stop them at the border. That's what you should do. It's a lot harder to get them out once they're already in. But we're working on it, and we're employing a lot of alligators. And the alligators of Florida, they've been crying for jobs for a while, and it's about time that hey, this will give them good 401ks, and they can
retire. About in a previous segment about farmers and laborers and certain construction people, but I'm sorry, I'm a firm believer we have plenty of people that do need jobs currently, that are American citizens. And last I checked, there's plenty of carpenters, plenty of construction people that are American citizens. There's plenty of people that are laborers that need jobs. Maybe if we force the companies to actually pay fair labor wages, 1 + 1 =
Well,
2. We
Companies.
can help out unemployed American citizens.
That's kind of the problem, though, isn't it? But we'll see.
Well, that's another problem that has been allowed to continue for too long, and it needs to be fixed.
Yep.
Last I checked, with this country, we have labor laws. We should be enforcing the labor laws.
Definitely.
Little area, and then of course you also have stuff for the staff that work here. So we've got laundry facilities, we've got showers, we've got obviously there you see the shower and bath facilities.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
Where do you go to get a bunch of bathrooms like that?
Well, so this is being done by the Division of Emergency Management. So when we have a hurricane, like we would actually have people stage here for hurricane response normally, anyways, but we have it when we have all the linemen come in to do the power.
Sure.
We have to set up little areas for them, and so you have all this type of stuff. So this is not our first rodeo. The detainee illegal alien mission's a little bit different, and the deportations, but logistics, we know how to do that.
Right, and you know, for people thinking, okay, they're going to put the migrants on this hot asphalt, it looks like you're building a subfloor, and in fact, some guys are putting down the plywood.
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
look, this will be, I mean, there's not going to be anything that they're hurting for anything. There'll be AC, there'll be things that everybody needs. There's medical here. So it's being done right. It's being done by the book.
Well, you know, when you think of the imagery of Alcatraz, Alcatraz is surrounded by a bay. Here in the Everglades, you're actually surrounded by gators and pythons.
So
I think historically only 3 people ever were thought to escape from Alcatraz and maybe survived ashore. However, I think Alcatraz is about 2 miles off the coast in California. And this is, I think he's about to go into how deep they are actually in the Everglades.
This is as secure as it gets. I mean, if a criminal alien were to escape from here somehow, and I don't think they will, you've got nowhere to go. I mean, what are you going to do? Trudge through the swamp and dodge alligators on the way back to 50, 60 miles just to get to civilization? Not going to happen. So not only that is it secure, it also takes this deportation mission out of the hair of our local and state law enforcement. This has no impact.
Yeah, so he's pretty much confirming it's all aesthetic, but it is a cool aesthetic. You know, I'll give him that.
On Florida residents, because some of that stuff can have an impact on them if it's in more populated areas. And so logistically, this really answers the call. All you need is a little bus to move them, you know, about 2,000 feet that way, then get on a plane and they're gone.
Well, listen, the DHS must love this because they're hurting for facilities, and here you are helping the federal government out.
Yeah, well, I said at the very beginning when President Trump took office, you have to have state and locals on board. You got to be on the team if you want to get the deportation mission done. We're done that better than anybody, but I hope other states will follow suit.
And DeSantis is definitely on the team. He's definitely, I mean, him and Trump have had their problems in the past, but it definitely seems like, yeah, I mean, I think he's been a good governor for Florida. I really do. So.
Yeah, and well, the biggest thing, and he cares about the people. He cares about the actual American citizens of Florida.
Yep, and Florida doesn't play
He made
around.
it very clear. His interest is their interest.
So I just
not
want
anyone else's, not any illegal immigrants' interest, like California or any other, you know, possible location that they support.
Yeah, Florida is the place, you know.
illegals going on, but
Florida.
New York City.
Everybody says Texas is the place you don't want to mess around in, and maybe that's true, but it seems like Florida is really the place you don't want to mess around in. So I just wanted to play this thing. This is from a TikTok, I believe. Just this guy talking about what he thinks about Alligator Alcatraz.
Buckle the fuck up, because Florida just went full on fucking Florida. Again. Y'all ready for this shit? Just approved. And I swear I'm not making this shit up. Construction of an off-the-grid detention center. Smack dab in the middle of Alligator Alley. Alligator fucking Alcatraz. I can't even. Only Florida looks at the Everglades, 30 fucking square miles of swamp, gators, and pythons, and God knows what the fuck else, and says perfect spot for a prison.
You might as well use it for something, right? And it's gonna give
I mean, realistic, especially because they have the airstrip there already, so that's a big thing right there. It makes it hella easy to deport and bring in people via airplanes. You don't have to worry about, you know, any road access per se, and yeah, it's very secure. Nature, it's very secure,
and it's a great deterrent for. I mean, I don't, like I said, DeSantis said that already. I don't think people are going to be escaping from this place, but it's like that's a huge deterrent. It's like where are you going to go? You can't get. There's no highway around. So
according to what I heard, 50 to 60 miles in each direction. You got to trudge through alligator and python infested waters. I know I don't want to go 1 mile through alligator and python infested waters, let alone 50.
They already broke ground Monday, and by August, 5,000 beds, surrounded by nothing but prehistoric murder lizards and snakes that can swallow you whole. And they loving it down.
Oh yeah, fun fact, yeah, their alligators and crocodiles are like one of the only dinosaurs that are still around.
Prehistoric.
They're literally bragging. If they escape, ain't nothing out there but alligators and pythons. Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. This ain't a damn detention center. This is Florida outsourcing border security to National Geographic's deadliest fucking killers.
Man, they need jobs,
if you
man.
break out, you ain't dodging ice. You dodging Steve Irwin's worst nightmares. But hey, it's Florida.
Steve Irwin loves alligators, so I don't know about
or
that.
become gator food. It's the circle of life in the swamp. This detention center comes with a built-in fucking Hunger Games death round. Want to run? Better lace up those Air Maxes tight. But remember, kids, gators do 35 miles an hour in water. Congratulations, you're an appetizer with sneakers. Florida, America's gun range and reptile sanctuary, all wrapped in one. So yeah, welcome.
Yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to obviously deal with those alligators. So this is exciting too. Just a real quick thing before we wrap this up. President Trump is set to attend the opening of Alligator Alcatraz on Tuesday, per NBC. Thousands of illegals are expected to be moved there in mere days. Hopefully, he'll be announcing more of these facilities around the country. Just a picture of Trump.
I think they'll be as effective, considering it's the big thing about this place is the Everglades.
I think
there's not a lot of Everglades.
I think
out there.
I think that's just mainly aesthetics, like I said. But it's going to imply a lot of alligators, so that'll be good. Steve Irwin would be happy about that. Alligators are getting jobs. They're getting equal rights. I mean, they're naturalized citizens, man. So they were born here. So
there sure is a lot of desert in Arizona and in Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That'd be another good
if they want to up, they want to up the aesthetics. I think you have to go a little further though than to if you have alligators just patrolling the ground. So let's see. Trump to visit Alligator Alcatraz migrant detention center this week. Let's see. U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to attend the opening on Tuesday of a temporary migration detention center in southern Florida dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. A source familiar with the matter said. The step comes as Trump, a Republican, has sought to ramp up the detention and deportation of migrants, saying the measure was needed after millions crossed the border illegally under Democrat Joe Biden. The center got the nickname from its remote location in the Everglades, a vast subtropical wetland teeming with alligators, crocodiles, and pythons that a Florida official said this month provides natural barriers requiring minimal security. Trump will be accompanied by Kristi Noem. Yeah, that I'd be interested in to see how many guards they're going to actually stake there versus some like other detention center, if they're going to actually like man it less. I don't think they will, but I mean that would be I'd be curious to find that out.
You don't need exterior patrols.
No, not really. No.
So that right there will be less. But yeah, you know, the interior staffing I think will probably be similar to any other detention center, but not like you don't need outside patrolling. You don't need sentry guards really. So.
Trump will be accompanied by Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, who asked him to visit, said the source, who spoke on Sunday on condition of anonymity. The House did not respond to a request for comment. The number in federal immigration detentions have risen sharply to 56,000 by June 15th from 39,000 when Trump took office. Government data show and his administration has pushed to find more space, which obviously they're going to need. So, hey, Alligator Alcatraz is supposed to be open and fully running by August, which is pretty cool. And like I said, the aesthetics is great. We're going to, there's 401k plans, I guess, for some of the alligators if they're going to be full-time workers, which is good for them. They can't retire until they're 80, 85 because the lifespan of an alligator is a lot longer than a human, but,
I hear Area 51's vacant. They could probably use that one.
I think that's only used for, those are different types of aliens, I believe, yeah.
No,
so,
my mistake.
Yeah. Now, we're moving on, and this is, okay, I got to take my sunglasses off here. I've been acting.
And let's not forget to like and share and give us your opinion on Alligator Alcatraz.
I think it's gonna be great.
Do you think it's gonna be efficient? Yeah.
But this is a story that I saw yesterday. It's still developing. This is one of the most shocking things I think I've ever seen. One of the most heinous things I think I've ever seen.
Especially the way that it's looking and painted. It's really upsetting.
Yeah, this is about Idaho authorities have confirmed that at least 9 firefighters and 2 police officers were shot. Their conditions are currently unknown after a gunman opened fire on them while they were responding to a wildfire. So the speculation is here that somebody pretty much set a fire somewhere out in Idaho to lure firefighters out there to then take shots at them. which is, I mean, that's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. That's
It's despicable.
That's kind of like that. That's the origin story for Edward Norton becoming a Nazi in American History X, isn't it? His father was a firefighter and he got shot fighting a fire.
I
believe that is. I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Did he get shot fighting a fire? I don't know.
I think he did. Yeah, I think he was a firefighter.
I know he was a firefighter, but did he get shot fire?
I think he did. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's where they got the inspiration from, and that could be a coincidence. I don't know, but this is, I mean, this is heinous for it actually to play out like this. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
I mean, there's so many questions that arise with this. Let's hear what everything has to say. See if maybe some of these questions were answered. But
well, this is from last night, and obviously this is currently still developing. So the details are sparse. They don't, they haven't released any information on the shooter yet or anything like that. We don't know race or motive or sex, so there probably would be a man or whatever, but we don't know a motive. We don't have a manifesto yet, but it'll develop.
News alert now. There is an active shooter situation developing in Idaho. As you look at your screen right now, multiple firefighters have been ambushed and shot while responding to a brush fire in the city of Coeur d'Alene. Reports say multiple people have been injured. Police are asking people to avoid this area, and a press conference is scheduled for later this hour. We will bring you any new updates anytime.
That was from yesterday. I believe we have a couple updates now. This is from, I believe, like the chief of staff for the police.
Man, I can't believe 2 firefighters have been unalived from this.
35. Today's June the 29th. Everybody okay? Can you hear me okay? Okay, my name is Robert Norris. I am the sheriff of Kootenai County. This information is very preliminary and is subject to change. We want to give you and the public as much information as quickly as possible. So at approximately 1:21 p.m. this afternoon, we received reports of a fire on the east side of Canfield Mountain. Fire assets responded to the scene, and at approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon, it was reported that firefighters were receiving shots fired at them. We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off of that mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on that mountain. So this is a very, very fresh situation.
I mean, it's one of the most horrific things I can possibly think of. It's like firefighters. I mean, they're some of the best people around. It's one of the hardest jobs there is. They put their life constantly on the line, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, to protect people from the dangers of fires. I mean, obviously, and then to show up at a place like that and be ambushed and to be shot at
while you're trying to, save society and put out the fire.
Yeah, to literally be put that's almost like being.
My first question I said to you before we started taping, I'm like, is this something personal maybe? Because why are they attacking firefighters?
I don't know.
I don't quite understand why the firefighters. What have they done to anyone specifically? That's why I'm like, is this a personal
I have
thing?
no.
I don't get it.
Nothing's been released about the shooter yet, and I'm sure. I mean, like I said, that happened at 1:42 yesterday. We're recording this. The time we're recording right now is at 11:30 a.m. on Monday, so it's like they probably won't release anything for a little bit yet.
It's not going to be a little bit, yeah.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We have been following developments.
Let's see, say Coeur d'Alene.
Of firefighters being ambushed when responding to a call for a brush fire in a local park there. What you're seeing now, we're told, is a procession coming out of that park. We saw at least one vehicle that appeared to be a hearse. You see people there, of course, waving flags, standing, lining the route there. There had been, we were told a number of hours ago, an active shooter who they believed was on the loose. We do know at this hour that a body was found on the mountain, a firearm found nearby. It is not.
Yeah, they believe the active shooter, if it was just one active shooter, which right now they suspect it is, he eliminated himself. Yeah.
Not clear whether that was the suspect, But just to recap of how we got to this moment, that there is now this procession leaving the park, all of these law enforcement vehicles, as you can see. You see the fire trucks there as well. And again, we saw just a short moment ago what appeared to be at least one hearse. A little after 1 o'clock local time, there was a call of a brush fire. Firefighters responded, and then another call came in at 2 o'clock of firefighters reporting that shots had been fired. 2 firefighters we're told were killed. A third, according to a firefighters union, is in the hospital now in surgery. The sheriff, just within the last couple of hours, holding an initial press conference confirming those 2 deaths, saying it was unknown whether there could be other casualties or civilians who could be stuck on the mountain. And at that time, again, just a few hours ago, the sheriff is saying that they were actively taking sniper fire, noting that they were prepared to neutralize the suspect, who appeared to be using, in the words of the sheriff, a modern-day sporting rifle, a high-powered rifle. Not long ago, I spoke with a local reporter who's based out of Spokane, Washington. That's only about 30 miles away, and this is essentially the same media market. She was telling me she's with the spokesman.
I mean, this is something that nobody should ever have to deal with. You're just going into work, you're doing your job. And it's not like you're working in a factory or you're doing fast food or something like this. I mean, like, you're a firefighter. That's one of the most prestigious, it's one of the most dangerous jobs, but it's also one of the most prestigious jobs you could possibly have. And it's like,
surely the last thing you'd expect would be shot at.
Yeah.
While you're trying to put out a fire. To be shot at, that's the last thing I would expect as a firefighter.
Yeah, it's like you almost, I'm sure, I've never put out a fire. I've never really been in a fire. But like, or not like a serious one that like got out of control or anything like that. I've been around, but I mean, you're almost like in a war zone. Now there's fires going on. You have all this heavy gear on, and now all of a sudden you're taking fire from people. You don't have weapons. Like, it's like,
no.
Whoever this person is, they're lucky they, I guess, off themselves, because it's like this person. I think wherever they went or whatever place they got locked up at, they would have been given that's absolute hell. I mean, this is one of the most heinous things I even can think of, and especially the fact that they think this person set the fire to lure the people there, then to ambush them. It's like, that's insane. It's insanity.
Yeah.
So, hear from the sheriff once again.
That we're trying to make heads and tails out of what was occurring, and during this time, we exchanged gunfire with the suspect, and we also got information. We received information from the White House, from Kash Patel, the FBI, from Governor Brad Little.
That'll be interesting too when the identity of this person comes out. I wonder if he was on the FBI's radar, because it seems like every single time there's something that goes on, whether it's a school shooting or a mall shooting or anything like that, just some type of public thing like that, normally the FBI comes out, oh yeah, he was on our radar. Normally that does happen.
Yeah.
Normally.
And also Raul Labrador, that anything that we needed, that they would absolutely respond. So we had a lot of assets that came into that command post. And then we had a briefing about 6:30, about 18:30 hours at the command post. And in that briefing, we kind of gave an update to the agencies that this is still an active shooter, and that as soon as this individual could be neutralized, that he should be neutralized and the threat should be eliminated as quickly as possible. At approximately 1940 hours, we did have information that let me back up just a second. We had a cell phone activation that was in the same spot since about 3:16. And that it was in the same area, and we honed in on that cell phone, and we saw that there was a male, appeared to be deceased, with a weapon nearby. So we have currently one dead shooter. Based on the preliminary investigation that was being conducted, keep in mind we had a fire that was rapidly, it was approaching the body, so we had to scoop up that body, and we had to transport that body to a different location. But based on the preliminary information, we believe that is the only shooter that was on that mountain at that time. So there is no threat to the community at this time. Based on the trajectory and based on the type of weapons that this individual had, that we could recover, we believe only the one shooter.
I don't even know what it comes down to, man. Is it a mental health crisis? Or these, like, it's like this is just becoming more and more prevalent in our society. And it's like, this is something that's like, this is, we covered that story, it was last week, right? With the guy, he tried to ram into the church, then he tried to shoot it up. And then luckily there happened to be somebody there who just took him out. But it's like this, it's like, obviously it's like, you know, a firefighter's not going to be carrying a gun into a fire. There'd be no need for that. So it's just like, I don't know. I mean, this seems even more heinous because it's like you lured these people to the spot and you knew
took
who,
advantage of people who were there to save society.
yeah, and you knew who was gonna come too. It's like, this is like, I don't know. This is like, I mean, I mean, every active shooting situation, every mass shooting is obviously a travesty, but like, this is like, I don't know. This is
Us
a whole.
as humans, we try and look for a why. We try and, you know, give some type of understanding to situations, but sadly, just like like you said, just like the one from before with the church, and I don't know if we're ever truly going to find out the why. You know, somebody who's mentally imbalanced is mentally imbalanced. There is no rational reason.
Maybe it all is just mental.
Why they do anything.
Maybe it is all just mental health crises. I don't know, but it seems like, I mean, they do say people are becoming more and more unstable, but let's read into this here. 2 firefighters killed in Idaho sniper ambush. Firefighters were responding to a blaze in the panhandle of Idaho. When the shooting happened, the sheriff said the body of a suspect was recovered on Sunday evening. Can you read this real quick? I gotta go check on my kid. I will be right back.
Where at? What part?
Right here.
Gotcha. All right. So a gunman deliberately started a wildfire in the Rugged Mountains area of Idaho and then shot at the firefighters who responded, unaliving 2 and injuring another on Sunday afternoon in what the local sheriff described as a total ambush. Sad. Local enforcement officers exchanged fire with the gunman while the wildfire burned. Officials later found the body of a male suspect on the mountain with a firearm nearby. Sheriff Robert Norris of Ketanji County said at a news conference on Sunday night. The authorities said they believe the suspect had acted alone, but they did not release any information about his identity or motives. This was a total ambush, quote unquote, by Sheriff Norris. Said, quote, these firefighters did not have a chance, end quote. That's truly sad. Firefighters were dispatched to conduct reconnaissance after the authorities received a phone call about a fire on Canfield Mountain on the eastern outskirts of Coeur-d'Alene at about 1:21 p.m. Sheriff Norris said about 40 minutes later, firefighters said they were being shot at, he said. As we previously reported. As the shooting unfolded, firefighters pleaded for help after 2 of them were shot. It's very disheartening to hear all this.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't mean to be disrespectful
needless to say,
to the firefighters.
No, you're good. Needless to say, these firefighters just truly did not know what they were walking into. It was a total ambush, as was reported by the sheriff, and it's sad. I read everything. We're at the bottom now, but
as the shooting unfolded. That's where we're at. Okay.
Yeah.
As the shooting unfolded, firefighters pleaded for help after 2 of them were shot, according to a feed posted on Broadcastify, a website that provides public access to emergency radio communications. One firefighter reported that they were hiding behind a firefighting rig. One could be heard saying that they thought the fire was set intentionally. Over 300 law enforcement officers from numerous agencies responded, Sheriff Norris said. The FBI confirmed they were there and helping the local authorities. As evening fell, the authorities used cell phone data to home in on the suspect and located his body. He added that the body was then moved because the fire was spreading rapidly. The authorities did not disclose the size of the fire. Oh yeah, and this is interesting. I don't know if they, because I missed a little bit of what you read. Is the fire still going, or is the fire, because obviously
nothing was mentioned.
Yeah.
In this topic, obviously, I don't think at this point, even though the fire might be an issue, it is not the main focus. So they haven't really talked about the fire whatsoever in anything I've heard or said.
This guy would have fried, man. I mean, you're an arsonist and a murderer. And I don't know if I might classify this as an act of terrorism too. I mean, it's like it's not like you're going someplace. I mean, I guess it's always an act of terrorism with these mass shootings.
Definitely seems like it was planned.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
but this is like you're luring people to a spot, which is like a whole nother
You
level of
maliciously
evil, I think.
planned.
Yeah.
You maliciously planned an assault, an ambush on firefighters. Like, there's no other way to really look at it or say.
Preliminary information indicates the suspect acted alone, Sheriff Norris said, adding that the dead man had not yet been identified. It was unclear how he died. The sheriff said that officials did not believe that the suspect was the same man who called to report the fire. One of the firefighters who died worked for the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, and the other was from Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, Sheriff Norris said. The authorities did not release their names. The injured firefighter from Kootenai County was in stable condition, the sheriff added. The Canfield Mountain area features both public and private land with a system of trails through steep mountain terrain used by hikers, mountain bikers, and motorcyclists. Hikers were still making it off the mountain as the gunfire occurred, Sheriff Norris said. Oh, man. Graham Christensen, a past president of Lake City Trail Alliance, said the I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher this. Coeur d'Alene Fire, I think it's Coeur d'Alene, but I don't really know. Fire department regularly performed brush clearing and fire suppression there, and said he did not know of a naturally caused wildfire there in the past 2 decades. Oh, that's, yeah. So, okay. Seems like it was an ambush then. Somebody intentionally lit this fire to get people over there.
There's no history of natural wildfires.
Well, I mean, it could, I mean, not that it couldn't happen, but yeah.
There's not a history of it.
He said the attack was a shock because the area had always felt so safe. Everybody feels comfortable up there. He said on Sunday, Brian Hadley had been riding up the dirt roads around Canfield Mountain to train for a mountain biking race when a neighbor called him to share the news about the fire. Mr. Hadley turned back, and as he rode down the mountain, he heard 3 gunshots in quick succession. When he reached the parking lot at the base of the mountain, law enforcement officials ordered him out of the area. It's heartbreaking, he said, of the shooting. He said he could still see smoke from the fire drifting over his roof on Sunday evening. Okay, so the fire is probably still there. An unnerving sight because recent dry conditions have increased the wildfire danger in northern Idaho. Well, I would say probably it was set. I don't think it's coincidence. There just happens to be a crazy gunman up there while a fire is going on.
Yeah. There's no way that's.
But I guess we'll learn more about that. I mean, the two
unfortunate coincidence.
The two, that'd be. I don't know if there are any real coincidences, but unfortunately. Yeah, for those 2 firefighters, they lost their lives, obviously performing a civic duty, acting like heroes to go in there and already putting their lives on the line to be in the way of fighting this fire to save the community. And then they get killed by some madman, which is, it's just insane, man. It's heartbreaking. And it's like, it's
very disheartening.
Yeah, it really is. I just wanted to play this real quick. A somber professional first responder vehicle is accompanying the bodies of 2 firefighters who were killed in an ambush responding to the fire call in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho today. And there's not really a need to... I don't really need to have the sound on here, but this is the procession on the side. You can see helicopters are going over it. When police are killed like this or firefighters, I mean, it's a big deal, man. All these,
Yeah.
They don't take this stuff lightly. And they shouldn't. It's like, see the fire trucks going by. The hearse just went by.
Yeah.
It's just sad and it's senseless and it's just. I don't really understand it. I don't get it. I've experienced depression and stuff like that. I know what dark thoughts are like. But it's like I've never, I don't know, I really can't ever imagine going out
to go to this level, to go out of your way to set something up to ambush people that are totally innocent in whatever may be plaguing you is just...
That's what I was going to say. It's like, I kind of understand the notion of wanting to hurt, like, if you want to hurt yourself, even though I've never really been to that point either. But I've never, to go out and just randomly hurt, I mean, just random people, too. It's like...
Yeah. You shouldn't hurt yourself. And
don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt anybody else.
Please seek help. Please talk to somebody, get treatment. But you should absolutely never want to hurt someone else due to your psychological
This has got to be a sick individual to do that. I mean, this has got to be, it's premeditated. It's planned. We're going to hear more about this story. I'm sure I think it's one of the worst stories we've ever covered on this channel. I really feel like very somber about it. And I was just so excited from Alligator Alcatraz too. And now I feel so somber. It's just,
this is truly just a sad event in, American history. Another sad event in American history.
Well, I'm sorry to. I mean, I'm sure those firefighters. I'm sure they had families. You know,
My condolences to their
wives,
family and
or
friends.
wives, kids, brothers, sisters. You know, parents. It's like, yeah, it's just friends.
Something that should not have happened, and it's truly sad that it did.
All right, we're gonna move on from that. We're gonna get into a lighter topic here. We're gonna try to. I'm gonna take a second here, just like, you know, I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
I'm not
Please
even.
make sure you like and share. We do know that was a very sensitive topic. Please comment
I'm
your
not,
respects.
I'm
and
not even trying to be
condolences
funny
to
at
the
this point.
Finley
It's just like,
family.
yeah, it's just like
No,
I feel I should have saved that for
it's even-
last. I feel somber
Yeah, honestly,
now.
it's
I
even
really do.
hard to transfer to another topic, but we must reset. We must talk about other news. So let's go ahead and focus on the next topic. Again, our condolences to the friends and families of all victims of that tragic incident.
So, all right, I'm gonna try to get back my pep here a little bit, but so we're going into California here, and we're going to talk about donors. They're not really too enthused about Kamala Harris coming back on the scene as she wants to run for California governor. Now, California needs no introduction.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the day it breaks off, the San Andreas fault line breaks, and it goes into the ocean.
Needless to say, I'm sure
And Canada can be the 50th state.
I'm sure there's going to be mixed reviews, but I pretty sure they're not looking to re-elect Newsom. I don't even know if Newsom's even trying to.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
Newsom will be out in 2028, and Kamala is looking to replace him.
Yeah.
And
I'm not sure who's opposing her or who's going to even run against her, but it's not looking good for California if Kamala Harris will be your next governor.
I don't know.
You might as well just have Newsom 2.0.
I don't know if you can really make California any worse than it is. Like I said, every time we talk about California, they're losing 1 million people a year. People are leaving.
I'm sure she will try.
I'm sure she will. This is from the 2028 Dem nominees national polls. And this is who is going to take over. As you can see, Harris is in second with 7% of the white vote, 11% of the Hispanic vote, 30% of the black vote. Losing to a former Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, or Buttigieg, or whatever. 22% white, 10% Hispanic, 0% black. Newsom, obviously, he's probably eyeing the big seat, but I don't know how he's going to do in a national election, considering he's ran California into the ground. But we'll see. Ocasio-Cortez, Shapiro, Sanders, Booker, Whitmer, Walz.
Especially the nation looking out or looking in to California. I can't imagine a lot of people truly supporting Newsom besides maybe certain agenda type individuals.
This came from, I don't even know why CNN aired this, but this came from the 2024 election cycle. And this is just a clip of one kid talking about Kamala Harris.
Pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris?
Liar.
Pops into your head when you hear.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean,
He tells it as he sees it.
I don't put too much political stock into that. Really, it's
No.
This is a dumb set. Kids on politics. It's a stupid segment to have. Obviously,
anytime you involve kids in politics,
they're just gonna.
You have to be real. You have to have that.
They're just gonna parrot what their parents said. They don't have a grasp on anything.
Yeah, in one ear, out the other. Talk about tunnel vision. Like it's whatever they're exposed to. It's not like they're out there looking at different resources of information.
So this comes from Forbes, and a shock, bad news for Kamala Harris, but very good news for Vance. So we're gonna hear from them real quick.
But you asked Democratic voters, you asked them about a slew of candidates. Who would you want to see as their Democratic nominee?
Oh, hold on. That's I got that going a little too fast. See, some people are fast talkers, some people are slow talkers. So it's like you never know. Let's try 1.25.
What were the results?
Brittany, you're right. We saw some indication.
You noticing this guy sounds totally normal now. Like at 1.25 speed, he sounds normal. She's still very fast.
Of maybe where part of the party is going this past week, but when we ask that question nationally, who folks want to see as the next leader of the party, as the presidential nominee in 2028, Democrats nationwide don't necessarily agree with that. So we have Pete Buttigieg at 16%, followed by Kamala Harris at 12%, Gavin Newsom.
Oh, am I gonna get an ad? Oh. Why do I have ad blocker on YouTube?
Also
there
at 12,
we go.
And then all others are under 10%. So, I don't think that this necessarily speaks to the progressive wing of the party. I wouldn't label most of these candidates as progressives. Now, if we look a little bit further down, it is interesting. We see that AOC is at 7%, so she does okay here, tied with Josh Shapiro, also at 7%. Now, AOC leads with those who are under 30 years of age. That's maybe not surprising. We're going to see the most progressive folks in sort of that age bracket. And then Newsom and Buttigieg do best with those who are older, over the age of 60, roughly. So again, I don't see a groundswell for progressive candidates here, but I do think that AOC sort of holds her own, at least in this test.
So, I mean, Kamala Harris, who just ran a national campaign, and the Dems have said from CNN, MSDNC, they said it's one of the most historic campaigns. It was a flawless campaign. She couldn't have done any better. They've kind of cast her aside, and Kamala Harris has kind of gone away. People aren't really talking about Kamala Harris really like they used to. You know, she's not really a focus. I guess she's, you know, she has her sights set on being the governor of California. Whether it's going to happen, I don't know. But we're going to hear now from the Young Turks.
If she plans on doing everything the same as Biden, I wouldn't want to vote for her.
The Young Turks who are, you know, I don't know, the Young Turks, Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur are shaking off their Trump derangement syndrome slowly but surely. And they have gotten a lot of flack for it. The Young Turks have gotten a lot of flack for it, for like kind of, they're just reporting stuff, not with such a bias anymore. And the mainstream media hates them for it. But let's get into that.
The 2024 presidential campaign is now history. The fallout from it is just getting started. Joining us now is Vice President Kamala Harris.
I'm talking about 3.5 years of performance in work that has been historic.
But
whether
is that
it be
the man who we saw on the stage tonight? Is that the person you see in meetings every day?
I'm not going to spend all night with you talking about the last 90 minutes when I've been watching the last 3.5 years of performance.
She tried, didn't she? Former Vice President Kamala Harris is yet to announce her next move politically, but according to a report from Politico, some California Democratic donors, they are not thrilled about the idea of her running for governor. Still upset with how she ran defense for former President Joe Biden, like in that interview we just showed you with Anderson Cooper.
And I've been saying this all along, and you know, how many times have I said this already, Duke? How many times? Her loyalty, her unwavering loyalty to Joe Biden, which probably would be a positive in the Democrat circles, has really turned on her ever since it's come out that he was cognitively impaired and he probably wasn't running the show. And it now makes her look like a ball washer, essentially. I mean, and that's what a vice president is supposed to do, but it's like, you know, you got to distance yourself from this person at some point. It might have gotten you a few more votes. I don't think you would have won the election off of it, but...
Yeah. Her loyalties turn to complacency. It's she, you know, she was loyal to a faulty person, or to a faulty regime, and now she's
she was loyal. She was loyal at the expense of telling Americans the truth, and I don't think people are going to easily forget that. And anytime she runs for anything, it's going to be brought up. What did you know about Joe Biden's cognitive decline? And she's going to ball wash again and say nothing.
You were willing to lie to the nation. You were willing to lie to the nation for years. And you continue to lie.
Oh, yeah, you did it happily. You did it happily because you thought it would get you some political capital. And it did, actually. I mean, it did. It got her into... She could have got in the big seat if she defeated Trump in the election. But she couldn't do that also because people saw through that. They said, you know, who cares about your loyalty, really? You should be loyal to the American people, not your party.
Your loyalty doesn't mean anything if you're loyal to the wrong people. Exactly.
Let's tell you more about the donors, just a little bit more about what they're saying. But Cenk, what did you think about this scoop in particular, the details?
Yeah, Kamala, I got basically 2 words for you: don't run. I think she's walking into a trap.
It's crazy too when Cenk Uygur here is making sense. When he starts to make sense, and he's been making more. He's shaking off his TDS. If you go back to 2016, man, this guy was angry. He was red faced. He's fuming, and obviously he still does that because it's Cenk. But he's kind of gotten out of his TDS. He's not so far on the Democrat party lines anymore. I think, and this could be a natural change. It could be he saw the light. When other people have said this is totally disingenuous, he's doing this because he sees the shifting tides in America. He knows the Democrats are behind on the 2080 pretty much on every issue. So it could be just for ratings. It could be for that. Who knows? He's a personality. But he has been a lot more tame lately. And he seems that like his TDS, even though he still doesn't like Trump, his TDS is not as rampant as it once was.
And there's a top reason why I think she'll be a terrible candidate, among many, but there's one that you really got to know. We'll get to that in a little bit, but let's find out the rest of the story.
All right, according to one anonymous donor who gave 6 figures to Harris's 2024 campaign,
What a waste.
here's the statement.
What a waste.
Anonymously. Kamala just reminds you, we are in this complete S-storm. Biden, we got bamboozled. I think she did the best she could in that situation, but obviously she knew about the cognitive decline too.
True.
I've written so many checks because I knew the Trump administration would be horrible. But we're living in a nightmare because of the Democrats. I'm furious at them, truly. Southern California fundraiser had similar thoughts. Here they are.
Yep. Anybody who says, they don't like Trump, it's like the Democrat Party. I mean, they over and over and over again shot themselves in the foot. And look at what's got them. Biden is completely irrelevant right now. Obama is completely irrelevant right now. The Democrat Party has no leader. Who is it? Chuck Schumer? Hakeem Jeffries? There is nobody that they can rally around that is a strong enough candidate who could right now even make a push for 2028. And I know they want Newsom. And I know they think, Newsom will run for president. He'll be good. I don't think he's going to be able to survive the national stage because nothing he has done for California has turned out well. Homelessness has increased. People are leaving in droves. His own in-laws went to Florida. He runs the state. His in-laws left. They went to go with DeSantis and the Alligators.
I don't see American citizens, voting for a person that completely destroyed. I wouldn't say completely destroyed, but definitely impacted negatively California.
I would say California's destroyed.
What do you think he would do to the nation if he had control of the nation?
He would turn it into California.
You don't think he'd do the same thing?
He would turn it into California, and nobody wants the nation to be
I sure as hell
California.
don't want my state to be anything like California. I don't want this country to be anything like California.
California is like the laughing stock of the country, I would say. And there's been other laughing stocks like Alabama, they have their jokes, or New Jersey, they get a lot of crap. But I would say by far the worst place to be would be California. I would not want to be living there. And I'm sure there are nice parts of California, but it's run by liberal lunatics.
Donors realize it's just going to bring up the whole pathetic last presidential, which no one wants to hear about again. And then it's the whole, did you know Joe Biden thing?
Yep.
She stood still. She still would probably lead, apologies, but honestly, no one is incredibly pumped. According to Scott Drexel, Bay Area-based donor advisor, here's this to consider. Many Democratic givers don't blame Harris for the November outcome, but neither are they inclined to see Harris waltz into the race and expect the party to automatically fall behind her. And others told Political that the longer Harris waits, the less momentum she has.
True.
Drexel stated this, it's very fair to say there's not an overwhelming clamor for her candidacy.
And why would there be? Why would there be? Going back to the Ketanji Brown Jackson thing that we did in our first segment, Kamala Harris was a DEI hire as well. Joe Biden specifically, she was the first one to drop out of the 2019 Democratic primary. The first one to drop out. She couldn't even get a single vote. Why did Joe Biden pick her? Because he said he was going to pick a black woman. Whether or not Kamala Harris is black, that's still up to debate. But Biden said that I'm going to pick a black woman as vice president. He did that purposefully because he knew the impact it would have.
When Kamala Harris' stance on would you do anything different than Biden in the last 4 years, and her stance is no, I wouldn't do a single thing different. Is that somebody you want to vote for? Like just using that, just that one little segment, is that a political view of somebody you want to vote for?
No. And it's, and also it's, I don't know, it's honestly pathetic that, she's probably one of their best candidates, I guess, but it's just, I don't know, man. I don't think anybody's super excited to see, I think Kamala Harris, it's like, you probably got enough money. You should just go away.
You know what? Maybe they should invest in new blood. Maybe they should invest in other new, younger ideas and people, because clearly the people that they do have,
who are they going to invest
are just.
There is no AOC or the influencers like Harry Sisson or Dean Withers. It's like these.
Everyone that's been in their
party
party for the last couple of years is not a viable option. I mean, you could see by the polls, you could see by the charts, none of them are leading. They're not leading for a reason. You need to get someone that's not on that chart.
They don't have anybody. They don't have no money. It's like, and
Socialism, just like they said in New York City, right?
Well, apparently that's what they want in New York City, but that won't fly in a national election either. I guarantee
no
it.
way.
So.
No, not at all.
Hard for there to be one if it's not 100% clear she really wants to do it. Mather Martin, San Francisco-based fundraiser who worked on previous.
I think she would get destroyed, especially with all the stuff with the Jake Tapper book, and now Karine Jean-Pierre. She's going to come out. She's going to write her own book about this stuff. The whole Biden cover-up is going to. I mean, it'll sink her. It's over now. The cover-up, it's been exposed.
Yeah.
And they only exposed the cover-up because they thought it would save the Democratic Party because they could oust Biden because Biden is of no use to us anymore. We can now oust him. But they didn't realize that what it's going to do, it's going to make everybody distrust the Democratic Party. The Democrat Party is going to take 20 years to recover from this at least.
Anybody that was attached to Biden's political party completely just lost any credibility.
That's what I think. Unless you staunchly oppose Biden. But there were very, very few Democrats who did that.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of Democrats that were publicly opposing Biden.
Harris campaigns told Politico there was more enthusiasm at first. I think it waned a bit.
True.
But Martin also stated that he believes Harris could still run a strong.
But was that enthusiasm? Because I mean, when Kamala took over the scene, when Joe Biden stepped down after the disastrous debate, and Kamala took over, there was about a month, maybe a month and a half, where it was just Kamala Nation. It was Kamala Summer or whatever it was. Everyone was falling out of the coconut trees and all this, and there was a bunch of enthusiasm behind her. But that never materialized into votes. It never materialized in anything real. And if we're going to believe the results of the 2020 election, where Joe Biden somehow got 10 million more votes than Kamala did, and if we're gonna believe that was actually legitimate, then I would say I guess those people just didn't show up because they weren't that enthused about it. Because Kamala, what did she stand for? Nobody knows what she stands. I stood exactly for what Joe Biden stood for. Yeah. And then she cackles.
Strong campaign for governor of California. According to Politico, Harris plans to make a decision on her future plans in late summer. These are the three options she's weighing. Aforementioned run for California governor in 2026, run for president in 2028, or stay a private citizen, make money, stay out of politics.
That would be the smart decision.
Jake, you weigh in on this. Well, you already told us that you would advise her do not run. Should it be disqualifying? I personally think it should be. Okay, if you sat by and you watched all this, I also think it should be disqualifying for the media and frankly, folks like Jake Tapper who are paid to tell us the truth, but are now getting paid for some book that'll probably be turned into a
Yeah, it won't be because the media, the fourth branch of the government, as they call it, has no accountability.
Movie after we needed to know what we needed to know. But you guys weigh in on what you think of the reporting here and what it might mean.
Yeah, so there's a ton of reasons not to run. So what if she loses and she gets Andrew Cuomo'd, right? And then leaves her career basically in an embarrassing fashion. She's gonna have
her career is already in embarrassing fashion. You're giving it too much credit.
I was going to say it's not already.
Saying's giving it too much credit.
To answer the Biden question. There's many
Joe Biden's decline. How is that not?
Well, even if that didn't happen, she still got blown out in the, in the 2024 election. After raising $1.5 billion at Trump's like $350,000. $350 million, sorry. But there was nowhere even near the amount of money put into the Trump campaign as there was put into the Harris campaign. And it didn't matter. You can pay Meg Thee Stallion or Beyonce or Taylor Swift or whoever you want to pay. Come out and endorse you. Oprah Winfrey. She got $2.5 million for that interview. Well, anybody with a brain would say, well, listen, Oprah, you're worth $4 billion. If you really thought you were going to save democracy, if this was so important and you're so influential, why wouldn't you do it for free?
Yeah, when do you need the
$2.5
million?
You're not hurting for cash. You're not. That's the question, isn't it? If Beyonce thought she would, I don't think Beyonce needed the money. Did she? Beyonce, are you hurting for cash? I don't think you are. I mean, I believe, Jay-Z and Beyonce, they're probably also worth $1 billion, something like that. You're not hurting here. Meg Thee Stallion is worth a lot less, but a lot less. I'm sure she's still worth, I have no idea. Multi-millionaire, still multi-millionaire. So Taylor Swift as well. Taylor Swift's worth billions of dollars. But all of you are coming out here, you're going to save democracy. But you wouldn't do it unless you got a check. It really, that really.
So you needed to get paid to do it.
It really does say a lot. It really does.
Many more, but there's one that I want to focus on. She's not sure if she wants to run, and people aren't overly excited about it.
Do not run.
What's the core reason?
Do not
run. The core reason is because she's not actually trying to fix something. She's not running to get something done. So for example, like if I was gonna run, and the time that I did run, I told you guys, we gotta get money out of.
Cenk did run.
What did he run for?
He ran in 2024. He wanted to be the president. Cenk cannot actually run because he is not a U.S.-born citizen, but he did run anyway, and he really didn't get anywhere. But he keeps bringing it up like it's a huge, oh, I did this, yada, yada. It's like, you did, Cenk. You put your name on a ballot. You did do that, big guy.
Politics, and nobody's willing to do it. In order to do it, you have to actually call out both Republicans and Democrats by name. And you have to show how much money they're getting from all these donors. Otherwise, people are never going to see it. You see how animated I am by it. Do you see Kamala Harris being animated?
This is really tame for Cenk. He's saying he's animated, but he's really, really calm right now, actually. Maybe his anger meds are working. I don't know. But good for you, Cenk.
By anything?
He's seeing the
She's
light.
trying to decide what's good for her career. And no one even realizes that's the problem. Nobody cares about your career. Maybe reporters do and other Democrats do, but the voters care about what you're going to do for them. And she hasn't even thought about that yet.
And that's the other thing, too. I mean, politics is all just, you got to be a narcissistic sociopath to get into politics, I believe. I really do. You have to have a huge ego to get into politics. And maybe Cenk, I'm sure Cenk's got a big ego too, but maybe it's not big enough to be a politician.
It doesn't animate her. That's why she's like, should I run or should I not run? My God, if I was the former vice president and I had a chance to run California, I would do it. Why would I do it? Because I'd be like, we haven't fixed homelessness at all. And we spent $24 billion worth of money go.
Yeah.
I want to fix it. And I want to make California beautiful. I want to do all these things.
Yeah.
But she's like, should I run for president? Should I run for governor?
He doesn't understand. It's not about, well, no, I guess he does actually, because he did mention it. It's not about who you can help or what you can do. It's about you yourself. That's what it is. Your legacy, what you leave behind. And that's important to people. I'm not going to say it's not. I think everybody does care about that on some level, or they should. But people are not called to be politicians for the greater good, or most people are not. Maybe not. I don't want to say every politician, but I'm sure, and this might be a low ball, 95% of our politicians are definitely corrupt people. I don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. 95% of you got dirty laundry, and you're not there really to help the American people.
That's a low ball. Yeah. I agree with you saying that's a low ball.
Yeah, it probably is. I'm trying to be generous here. But yeah, and probably 95% is actually too low of a number for all these people who are in politics for the wrong reasons.
Should I go run something else? Me. All these corporate Democrats are just empty shells. Yep. That's the number one problem. Waz, what do you think?
Man, so beautifully said, Cenk. She's one of the emptiest suits in politics. There's just no there there. There's nothing there.
That is right.
A couple of things about that political piece that stuck out to me. One, what Cenk already mentioned. At no point do they say, well, this is the purpose of the candidacy. This will be the purpose of her campaign. This will be the purpose of her, her time.
Yeah, what is she running on?
They didn't do that in 2024
she doesn't
either.
have anything. Yeah.
They did that specifically because the donors had already started donating money to the Biden-Harris ticket. And if they didn't run Harris, they would have had to give that money back and then hope they were going to get it back again, because that's how it works. They couldn't transfer it to anybody else except for Biden or Harris, and Biden was out. Harris had to run. The Democrats, if they were smart, excuse me, they were smart. They should have had an open primary. Kamala Harris could have obviously gone to the open primary and been one of the candidates, but they should have had an open primary. But they anointed her. They anointed her because they already had the money.
Yeah. They just went with the financial.
And their greed screwed them over.
Yep.
Because it wasn't about money, because Trump spent a lot less money getting elected than Kamala did.
You don't need more money to win the election. You need actual votes. Crazy enough. You need to get the votes.
And, like I said, going back to all the celebrity things, the celebrities endorse Kamala because they got a check for it. The people who endorse Trump just endorse Trump. Dana White has a very good story about it. He was on vacation. Dana White, he's the guy in charge of the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a great story about how he's on vacation with his wife. His wife's been begging him to go on vacation for years and years and years. And I'm sure Dana White probably is a workaholic because, you're running a major business here. And then he got the call up to come to the RNC to speak for Trump. And he's like, oh, I can't do it. And his wife said, no, you got to go do that. So he actually got a flight off this private cruise, I guess he was on, or something like that, private yacht. His whole family was there, whatever. got a flight out to go to the RNC to speak at the RNC because he believed in Trump so much. He didn't get anything for that. I mean, it inconvenienced him and his family, but he
had to
believed
go out of his way.
But he didn't get paid. But he didn't get paid. It's not like Beyonce showing up. Oh, I'll show up for you for $5 million. It's
pay me, I'll endorse it.
I'll endorse you if you pay me. Trump didn't have to do that. People would just endorse him anyway, and they'd get a personal inconvenience.
I mean, look at Elon, for crying out loud. He was a Democrat, and he switched sides.
Yeah, well, that's happened a lot too. And Elon actually poured a lot of money into the campaign to get Trump elected.
That's another one, exactly. He put how
But
much
he
money
didn't. But he
into
didn't
the
get
campaign.
handed.
He didn't get paid.
Well, I mean,
he didn't get paid for nothing.
Well, you could make.
You could argue.
The government contracts.
The government
You could argue that, but
I highly doubt that drove him. I mean, as you can see, the fallout and everything like that, and he backtracked and everything.
Well,
that's not.
Yeah,
a lot of that is a political show, but
yeah.
Elon was not incentivized by money to back Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, you could always argue that people who are famous are always going to do this stuff for political favor. But what you can't argue is that these people, like, they weren't even doing it for political favor with Kamala. They were doing it to just handed money, and they did, and they accepted it. Like I said, Oprah, worth $4 billion.
One of the biggest
Why do you need the
stances
money?
for anyone who was for Trump was that we want change. We want more than just the regular we've been fed for years, and that's what they got. They got change. They got something different than what they've had for years with this fucking political party bullshit.
The governor's mansion never comes up. She has no reason for being. And two, I love how the owners of the party, the big money donors, the consultant class, let themselves off the hook. We were bamboozled. You guys are idiots. It's either you're idiots or you're lying to us. There are no two answers. If Joe Schmo,
No, they're lying. They're not idiots. They're lying.
Yeah, I wouldn't
walking
say
down
that.
the street,
They're
who
not
has no connections, is not an insider, never been to DC, never shook any of these people's hands, could take one look at Joe Biden and know he was cooked. And you,
Yeah, and everybody knew that.
with all your connections, could somehow be fooled into thinking the Biden thing was going to work. I love the convenient letting.
I'm sure Kamala didn't know, right? I'm sure. I don't know how often probably weekly. They probably saw each other.
I remember
weekly.
the one segment we did. I don't recall exactly what topic it was. It was probably on the cognitive decline of Joe Biden.
Probably we did cover that a lot.
Kamala Harris specifically said, "Oh, well, I only saw him on the professional stage here and there. I didn't really spend personal time with him." I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, you're full of shit.
Yep.
You want us to believe that his VP didn't spend any personal time? Oh, well, I only saw him for like 10 to 15 minutes here and there. What VP do you know only spends 10 to 15 minutes with the president?
Well, I don't know the relationships between the president and the VP, but to act like that you're not
if you're
seeing
the VP,
him.
that's bullshit. There's no way I can believe that.
You're seeing him on the regular. You're not. It's not like, oh, hey, I see you once every 6 months. It's like, no, you're interacting with him. I would say probably on a weekly basis, or you're checking in. You're doing that. Your
Last I
teams are
checked,
connecting.
If you're the vice president to Joe Biden, you're part of his inner circle. Anybody who's part of the inner circle is spending more than 10 to 15 minutes with him.
Well, Kamala actually. I mean, they say, not to defend Kamala, but they say she wasn't really part of the inner circle. Because Kamala got really pissed off because Biden gave her the border to deal with. And she said, I don't want to deal with the border. It's like, yeah, no, I wouldn't think you would. Nobody really wants to deal with the border
And you
in
didn't.
the Biden administration.
Clearly
but,
you didn't.
No, yeah, she didn't. But all right, let's wrap this up here.
We just had no idea. We run the entire party. We call all the shots. We're the big money, big wigs. But we couldn't do anything, Sharon. I don't know. It was just out of our hands with the Biden thing. It's pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're both so right. And I would even go further. You both have me convinced that even this article being written, this so-called
Staunch Democrats, mind you. I don't know about this guy, but Cenk, staunch Democrat. There's a very funny clip on YouTube about them breaking down in the 2016 election that Hillary didn't win. Hilarious. Anybody who go search it up. Young Turks 2016 election. It's good. And now whether it's for political capital or whatever, or he's really had a change of heart and he sees the other side, I can't speculate on that. But Cenk has become a lot more reasonable. I would say within the past 2 years, actually. So he kind of started calling out the Democrats. Yeah, I mean, obviously before the election. So take for that what you will.
scoop is part of the problem. Going to these anonymous billionaires, these rich people who are truly running things, is actually part of the problem. Okay, but I agree with you. There is no passion. It's not a mistake. They didn't even think about asking about, well, what would you do? What would she do? What is she itching to do? You know, we like people, I think, in America today,
Be the governor.
who make us feel something. Maybe you creep me out. Maybe you make me feel, you know, this passion and love for you, but I got to feel something. And I don't feel anything here. The circumstances make me a little angry, sure, a lot angry, but the person, you're right, I could care less what she does. What's the platform? What are you running on? What are you going to do? And I wish that
She didn't, again, that wasn't specified in the 2024 presidential election. What was she going to do? She said, I'd do nothing different than Joe Biden. And that's...
yeah. It's a hell of a stance to
well,
have.
what did you like that Joe Biden did? Oh, everything. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Tells me a whole lot here.
they came put
I
the
feel
name on this.
confident.
I thought rich guys, well, some like to run things secretly, I guess.
Yeah. So last two quick things here. One is our poll, because I'm curious about it. We always do a poll on the live chat. Shows live 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. So what should Kamala's next move be? Run for governor, run for president, or live a private life? I'm curious what you guys said about that. We'll pull that up in a second. And then the last...
If somebody is rooting for the Democratic Party, I hope she runs for president again.
point I want to make is, the donors are also guilty of one other thing. They're the ones who wanted the empty suits in the first place.
Yes.
The reason they wanted the empty suits, and they didn't care whether Biden had dementia or didn't have dementia, is because they tell the politicians what to do.
Yep.
So they don't want the politicians to be too independent and and have a lot of their own ideas. They say, no, I want you to do my ideas, not your ideas. If you're an empty vessel, that's awesome for the donors. So now them complaining about empty vessels is hilarious and ironic. Okay, we got the poll?
I don't know if you got the poll or not. We're not going to watch that video.
Yeah, we don't need to.
Pretty hilarious. But so just from political here, real quick before we wrap up, Kamala Harris is ramping up her outreach. No one is incredibly pumped. Some party funders have privately shared their ambivalence as the former vice president ramps up her outreach ahead of a potential run for governor. Kamala Harris is ramping up her outreach to longtime supporters as she weighs a run for California governor, but many Democratic donors aren't enthusiastic, still hobbled by the hangover of presidential loss. Some party funders have privately shared the ambivalence with each other as Harris has embarked on a quiet schedule of thank you visits, catch-up calls, and listening sessions, touching base with her most trusted supporters as she weighs her options. The former vice president has tasked aides with exploring several paths, including not just a campaign for political office, but also a philanthropic venture. And I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. No, we're running late. It's a long episode, but I think this is important. The second president of the United States, John Adams. John Adams was the first-term president. He only ran for one term. He was defeated by Thomas Jefferson in the second term. John Adams then decided that he was going to go back to Congress because he still wanted to help the American people. I don't see anything like that ever happening again, where a president would ever step down or a vice president would ever step down and do something like that. And I think if they would do it, in the case of Kamala, where she's thinking about going for governor, you're going to do it for the wrong reasons. I think, the founding fathers, they were made of a lot of grit, and they really did believe in, fleshing out the country and trying to make it as best as they possibly could, because they don't want to go back to from where they came from, i.e. Britain, where you have a king and you're a sovereign and all that stuff. But I don't know, for Kamala Harris, I don't think that's going to happen. So, in interviews, several major donors in the state told Politico they fear her reemergence as a candidate would reopen still fresh wounds from her defeat in 2024. Some harbor lingering frustration about how her billion-dollar campaign juggernaut ended in debt. And that's true, it ended $20 million in debt. And want assurances she would have a clear path or a clear plan to win the governor's mansion. Others are impatient for Harris to start publicly making her case for why she'd want the job. There was more enthusiasm at first, said Martha Martin, a San Francisco-based fundraiser who has worked for past Harris campaigns. I think it waned a bit. One California Democrat who contributed 6 figures to a presidential bid said a Harris candidacy would only serve as a reminder of how traumatizing the last election was. And we kind of covered all this. Kamala Harris bamboozled. Close Harris allies acknowledged the sting of Harris's failed White House bid. And I don't think it's even, I'm not going to read all the rest of this, but I don't think it's even just that. I just think
I didn't realize that, dude, she had a $1.5 billion campaign and she ended up in debt.
Yeah, $20 million in debt. Yeah, well, and yet she's the person who wants to run the economy, right? Yeah. So that makes a whole lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
You can run you cannot run a campaign, but you can run the economy. It's like, listen, it's just everything about it was so embarrassing, and it's only going to get more embarrassing, or it only has gotten more embarrassing since the whole cover up of Joe Biden's mental decline, which I think is I mean, it's now even CNN's reporting on it. It's so big, it's undeniable at this point. People who were shilling for them, Jake Tapper, he's beating Laura Trump up on stage. Oh, you're not a doctor, you can't. Well, obviously, no, she's not a doctor, but she obviously has eyes like most people do, and she can see that I think this person is in a cognitive decline.
And
they're not as sharp as they were 5 years ago. It's just, and I don't think she said it to be mean. I think it's just, she was just being honest. Because I saw it too. I mean, a lot of people saw it.
I mean, the fact that nobody wanted to talk about it, to me, is the biggest issue. It's like, yes, it's obvious.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
that would
we
have been
should be
blasphemy.
talking
Exactly.
about it. Yeah.
Would have been absolute blasphemy.
Like, I don't understand why it was so taboo to talk about. I mean, I do understand because money and
Because the whole coalition
politics
around Joe
and
Biden
Democratic,
was
yeah.
protecting him. And it's like, that's great.
But
And
that's so you're sacrificing the nation for, your own personal agenda.
And they said, and I think most of the people around him are going to get hauled before Congress to be asked about this, but that's the whole thing too. It's like, I get you want to have loyalty to your boss, and on some level that's a good thing, but if that's the expense of the voters, is at the expense of the citizens of the United States of America, is at the expense of the people, that's crazy. And Kamala Harris, no matter what she does from now on, she can't run from that. It's there.
And considering your job is literally for the people, and you lied to them, wholeheartedly, and were willing to lie to them for years. Every single person that ever was part of his political party should never be in politics ever again.
So I guess just to leave it there. I mean, I hope she does run in 2028 for the presidential seat, because I think she will get
Make it easy.
destroyed again in hilarious fashion. I really hope, and I don't know if it might be too late for California. I don't know if they can turn it around, but like, if you're going to keep electing these people, like, I mean, Newsom was no good.
Arguably, it's not, because how long did it take for them to get California or San Francisco in shape for the leader of
for
China?
Xi Jinping? Oh, they did that within like a weekend or something. Yeah, they can do
So
it.
it's very possible. It's just whether or not
they don't want to do it for
whoever's in charge wants to.
They don't want to do it for their own citizens, though, is the only thing.
Exactly.
But, hey, like I said, I always make fun of California. I hope you can turn it around. I just don't see it happening. I really don't. But I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. So we'll see.
I would love to be proven wrong about California, but yeah.
All right. Well, that is our last topic. I think that is the show for today. Duke, closing words. Anything you got?
Just the usual. Make sure you like and share, and let us know what you thought about that last topic, the show, any particular topic that fancied you more than others, all that stuff. We'd love to hear it. We love to hear your critiques, criticisms, all of it.
A very big spectrum today. There were highs and there were lows. I laughed. I cried. So. But yeah, anyway, this is Duke and Judge show. We will be back on Wednesday. Until then, be good, everybody, and we will catch you in the next one.
Take it easy.